Yes, welcome back from TUS, and we are going to continue the biology class. The subtopic is adaptations of the components of the blood. So we are still dealing with the transport in plants and animals, specifically transport in animals, under the components of the blood. We have discussed the plasma, we have discussed red blood cells, white blood cells, and the platelets. So today we are going to look at how the components of the blood are adapted. Remember, we have talked about the adaptations of the red blood cells, so we are not going to repeat that. And here we are going to concentrate on white blood cells. We will mention the platelets, fibrinogen, and the plasma. Now, so the objective is to state the adaptations of white blood cells, platelets, and fibrinogen, and also the plasma. So let us start with the adaptations of other blood components. Adaptations of other blood components. Now, when you look at white blood cells, the white blood cells, we say they are somehow different from red blood cells because they have nucleus. They are nucleated. And this one normally assists them. The shape of the nucleus allows them to engulf. You see, the nucleus is branched, it's lobed. That lobed nucleus allows the shell to change its shape and engulf the pathogens, the disease-causing organisms. So when talking about the adaptations of the white blood cells, we must mention that they have a lobed nucleus to carry out engulfing and digestion process of pathogens more effectively. So that the lobed nucleus allows it to grow something like pseudopodium and then engulf the disease-causing organism, if it is bacteria, to engulf that bacteria and then digest it. So that is one thing about the white blood cells. Now, the platelets, how are they suited to perform their function, which is the clotting process? And remember, we said that the clotting process is very important to the body because it is the first step in the healing of fresh wounds. It is the first step in stopping microorganisms from getting into the body. It is the first step that stops excessive loss of blood, and it is the first step that prevents the body from getting dehydrated due to loss of excess water as a result of bleeding. So, how are the platelets suited for their function? The platelets has thromboplastin, what we call thrombokinase enzyme, which catalyzes the activation of prothrombin to thrombin during the blood clotting process. Now remember that we talked about the platelets and the clotting process, and we said that platelets normally contains thrombokinase enzyme. The thrombokinase helps in the conversion of an inactive enzyme called prothrombin. Prothrombin to thrombin. So we can say that one of the adaptations of the platelets is that it has thrombokinase enzyme which catalyzes the conversion of the inactive prothrombin to its active form, which is thrombin. And this one occurs during the blood clotting process. That one occurs during the blood clotting process. So that is an adaptation of the platelets. Now, then in the blood we also have what is called fibrinogen. So how is this substance, how is this element of blood important, or how is it suited to perform its function? Now, fibrinogen is normally very, very sensitive to thrombin. Whenever thrombin is present, then fibrinogen changes to fibrin. So when this one is present, then the fibrinogen, which is a protein, a blood protein, is converted to fibrin. Converted to fibrin. So we are saying that one of the ways through which the fibrinogen is suited for its function is because of its sensitivity. It is very sensitive to what? It is very sensitive to the presence of thrombin, such that whenever thrombin is present in the blood, then the soluble, this one is soluble, the soluble fibrinogen is converted to the insoluble fibrin material. So from there we can actually go back and look at the clotting process, whereby during the clotting process, when the platelets are ruptured, meaning broken open, when their surfaces, when blood tissues are injured and the platelets are exposed to the air, then what happens? The platelets are very, very actually delicate. They're so soft that even air alone can rupture their surface, can break their surface. So when the surface of the platelets has been broken open, then the platelets will release what is called thromboplastin. The other name of thromboplastin is thrombokinase. Now, the thrombokinase does what? Its work as an enzyme is to activate another enzyme present in the blood, and that enzyme is prothrombin. You have learned about the digestive enzymes like pepsinogen, pepsin being released in form of pepsinogen. So in this case, this thrombin enzyme is the active form of prothrombin. It's like talking of pepsin enzyme and pepsinogen enzyme. So this enzyme is there in the blood, but it is in its inactive form. Thrombokinase is an enzyme that is present in the platelets. And again, it is present in the platelets and can only be released when the platelets is ruptured, when the platelets is broken open. So, prothrombin normally gets activated to its active form that is called thrombin. What does thrombin do? What does this active enzyme do? That active enzyme now will convert, it will actually catalyze the conversion of another protein which is present in the blood called fibrinogen to its insoluble form called thrombin. The insoluble form will now block the wound and stop bleeding from taking place. So that is why we say that fibrinogen is highly sensitive. how is it suited to perform its function? Because its function is to be converted to fibrin and then block the wound. So it is highly sensitive to thrombin, whose presence changes it into insoluble fibrin. That is the fibrinogen. Now, another component of the blood that we are going to look at is the plasma. We are going to look at the plasma. So, when looking at the plasma, how is it? We are not going to look at the functions or any other thing, but we are going to look at how is plasma suited to its function. One, plasma has water. And remember, the specific heat capacity of water is normally high. So the high specific heat capacity of water enables the plasma to maintain the temperature of the body within a narrow range. So we say plasma has water with a high specific heat capacity, which enables it to maintain the high temperature, to maintain the temperature of the body within a narrow range. Water does not allow the temperature of the body to change widely. It will ensure that it is within a narrow range. So water is also important. We should also say that plasma has water, which acts as a solvent and a medium of transport of dissolved substances. That one brings us to the end of our first segment. Let us meet in the second segment to continue.